Welcome to the Essence of the Soul.
A safe haven for all souls.
My name is Linda.
And my name is Paris, and welcome to our episode on using divination tools to communicate with our spirit guides.
So today we're going to go into depth a little bit about divination tools and how we can utilize it to communicate with our spirit guides, our higher self, and just higher consciousness in general. So, what are divination tools? Divination in general is a form of energetic communication that acts as like a bridge for the physical and the spiritual realm. It allows us to gain insights into higher consciousness, and it also dates back to ancient civilization where people used it throughout the world to gain insight in different aspects of your life. These tools can be great for connecting with your spirit guides, your higher self, and ancestors to help you during times in life where you may need an extra boost of guidance. Divination tools are also a great way to strengthen our intuition. So you can use it to connect with higher beings in general. And also many believe that divination tools chooses their owner actually. So that's a little bit about divination tools. And we can go into depth a little bit of what kind of tools are available that you can utilize.
Yeah, so like Linda said, a lot of divination tools choose their owners. So some of the divination tools that we are going to go through, just keep that in mind because there are so many and there are so many different ways that people use these tools. But we're just going to go into a little bit of our experiences with each of these tools. So the first thing we did want to talk about was astrology. So astrology is really interesting. It's so complex and so intricate into every single person. One thing that I do want to share is like, I know a lot of people have, said, or when they get into astrology, they're like, like I might be a Pisces and you're a Pisces, but like, how come we're so different, right? That's because we have a whole chart, a birth chart from the date and time, as well as the year, as well as the location. Every single little thing matters because it's based on the rotation of each planet. So we have different houses, different signs. Just it's such an intricate chart. So that's why a lot of times, you might be born in March and somebody else is born in March. You guys are both Pisces, right? And you guys are not the same because we have a just different signs in each house.
A lot of misconception that people have is just using their sun sign, like Paris said. But something to note is that everyone's different and it's so unique, and that's why I love astrology so much. There's different types of astrology too,
Yeah.
Eastern and Western. I've compared a little bit for both. I feel like it just, with all divination tools or all forms of guidance, take what resonates and just leave anything that doesn't resonate with you.
Yeah. So the three big signs, right? The sun, moon, and rising. It's super interesting because I love hearing other people's like big three. We can kind of talk about ours
Yeah.
actually. So we're both water signs. So every sign also has an element that's associated with them. And I'm a Pisces, of course. I've been talking about it.
Pisces and Scorpio,
Yes.
that's our logo, essentially.
Yes. So Pisces and Scorpio, that's our sun. So your sun is, of course, the day that you were born, right? When the sun was rising. Oh, sorry, not when the sun was rising. That's actually a rising sign.
Yeah.
But when, during the season of whichever
Which month you
astrological
were
sign it
born.
is. Yeah. So that March, so it's what, the February,
February, March.
yeah, February, March. So that's for Pisces, right? And Scorpio is like October, November. So, anyways, so that's technically like who you are, essentially.
Yeah, it's like your identity, um, who people view you as,
Yeah.
how people see you, your outside appearance.
Yeah.
And then going into your moon sign is the inner parts of yourself, like your
Yeah.
emotional being, how you are when no one's around, like deep down inside.
Yeah. And that's very deep. So I and Linda both of us are actually fire
Fire,
moons.
yes.
So
Yes.
I have Leo.
And then I have Aries moon.
So we both are fire. So we have water and then fire. So our charts are actually very similar.
Yeah, we do. We're very similar. And then
Yes.
our rising is, well, my rising is in water. I'm a Cancer rising. And then Paris is.
I'm an Aquarius rising, so that is actually air. So I don't know, like I feel like when we looked into our charts, it was just so similar in every single like aspect, element, things like that. But um each of these signs, they present a different thing. So the rising sign, like I said, when, the sun was rising, it was in Aquarius for me. It was in Cancer for Linda. So for Aquarius, like rising, it's interesting because they say this is how people see you. Like this is how they will perceive you at first glance. They would think that, oh, okay, Paris is like an Aquarius, right? Or Linda's like a Cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really, we're Pisces and Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And then our moon signs are very deep. It's more individualized into who, we are by ourselves and how we view ourselves, how we think, and how we process things
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. So that's kind of
A
a
little
little
bit
bit.
about astrology, and
Yeah.
we can definitely go into depth
Hmm.
in the future too. There's so much to cover, but astrology is used as like a tool in a lot of the Asian countries and side of the world. They use it as a form of guidance, even.
Yeah.
Some people even choose specific dates for when to do things, when to host events, or even when to have a child.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Linda said this earlier, but it really is like a cheat code,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a blueprint
For
to
your
know,
life.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
about yourself.
certain
That's
things.
why I
Yeah.
love astrology because the more I got into it, I realized I'm like, wow, like it literally shows all my strengths and where my weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're doing healing and shadow work, there's a specific planet in your chart that kind of shows you where your traumas and wounds are for lifetimes and
Yeah,
what you need to heal on a soul level.
for sure. All
Yeah, so
right.
going into the next type of tool that is available, we have tarot cards and oracle cards. So, if you watched our previous episode of when we started getting into our spiritual journey, we did play a little bit with oracle cards, and we mentioned a little bit that's how you can receive guidance from your spirit guide and your higher self. But one thing that we wanted to add is the tarot cards. Tarot cards are a little bit more in depth and a little bit more specific, and it's just a little bit more complex too. There's a whole system to it. So the original tarot card is written by Rider White, and this is a 78 card deck with two different arcanas, which is the major and the minor arcanas. These cards are used differently amongst different people. People practice differently, but it is a tool to connect with your intuition and your guides,
Mhm.
especially when you have very specific questions you'd like to ask. It's almost like a form of fortune telling, too, in a way.
Yeah, I think when we first got into our journey, we dove a lot into the oracle cards, but as we started getting a lot deeper, I didn't realize how much more like serious or more like in depth and just deep and detailed the tarot cards actually were. And I love the tarot card deck. I swear, like when I look every single card, every single meaning and everything, it just gives you like a straight answer. And a lot of times when you are using these types of tools, either Oracle or Tarot, it's going to tell you a story. You can kind of look on the pictures, you can, read the descriptions, but eventually the downloads will come to you and you can start to understand what the message is. And, a little bit of the difference between both the tarot and the oracles, like a lot of the oracle is just a simple, more broad type of guidance for you. Like a lot of people will use oracle cards, like just shuffle it, give me a card for the day or give me a card for the week or the weekend, things like that, just to get some guidance, or just a word or some sort of thing that they need to know. There's a lot of different types of themes that they have came out with different oracle decks, which is
Yeah.
why they're so fun because
Yeah.
they have like I literally have everything like angels, mermaids, like animals, like
Starseed.
yeah, there's so much,
Hmm.
like so many things. But same thing with, like we said earlier, right? A lot of these tools, they will choose their owners. And it's really interesting because you'll start to learn a lot more about yourself by the types of tools that you are choosing, right? So like maybe you choose the angel deck, right? Because you feel so connected to like the angel side, things
Hmm.
like that, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, like you really learn more about yourself as you use these tools. And I think with the tarot card, it's very essential to have if you are using these tools because the tarot deck is just going to be much more like deeper in detail to give you like the straight answer, especially if
Hmm.
you have a specific question, like Linda said.
And like Paris said too, it can tell a story. So if you're kind of looking into more futuristic questions, it'll kind of give you some insight into like the future of
Yeah.
telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these like cards too, it's an energetic communication. So depending on like the current energy, those are the kind of cards that will come out, and you'll kind of start to notice that too with your awareness. You can see like, oh, like, I'm going through like a dark time in my life, and these are the type of cards that come out, like
Yeah.
darker, more heavier cards, I would say, but it's also very good guidance to help you in the direction that you need to go towards too.
For sure.
And it's interesting because you mentioned you'll start to learn more about yourself through using tarot cards and oracle cards, with the ones that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I noticed that a lot of the decks that I have are a lot to do with like shadow work, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
illuminating from like the darkness. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like that is so me, like such a Scorpio type of like decks that I choose. And I do have a few light ones too. It's nice to have a balance because I'm like, okay, sometimes like these are a little too like blunt, okay? Like, but that's kind of like the kind of spirit guides I have is they're very blunt, they're very direct. They don't sugarcoat information with me,
Mm-hmm.
which I do love because I'm like, okay, whatever I need to fix, just let me know. And I always say that. I always just say that. And so it's really interesting. Paris has a lot of those lighter, of course, more Pisces type of decks. And so
Yeah.
I do ask her sometimes for like readings, but she'll have decks that I don't have. I'm like, oh, thank you. This is such a lighter message for me.
This is so funny. It makes me laugh because I remember back then, I'm like, can I use some of your decks? And you'd be like, can I use some of your decks? It's just like, no, literally, because I was so drawn and attracted to like the lighter ones, where I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And like, everything, like, I feel like my spirit guides too, they are much lighter on me, like they do really send me like amazing, beautiful messages, even if it is kind of dark at times too. But at the same time, I'm like, I came to a point, there was like a little bit where I was like, I need to buy like a much more like darker type of deck, like a more blunt type of deck.
Yeah.
Not to say darker, but you know what I mean?
It's just
Just
like more straightforward.
yes.
Yeah.
And I did do that actually. And I mean, I would say like I have good experiences with that. Any type of deck, I'm very much open to it. But I do think that a lot of those decks I don't use as often. I've
Hmm.
noticed. I don't know why, but um I used to use them a lot more, like maybe a few years ago, but now I don't use them as much. And I do actually have like one deck that's like super dark. Okay, sorry, not just like dark, but like you know what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
like it's more of like one of those decks where like I'm only gonna use it for a certain question and it's the
Mm-hmm.
same question every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only like used like once a month or like,
Mm.
once a year.
For shadow work.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's, kind of like me too. But
Hmm.
ever since, I've grown in the spiritual journey now, I mostly use the tarot decks.
Yeah, tarots are
Yeah.
really good for specific questions.
Hmm.
And it's good to have a variety of like different decks to use too, because with like oracle cards, of course you're not going to always use like light messages all the time for specific questions you may have, especially when it comes to like maybe shadow work. Like maybe a light deck is not going to really help me with my shadows as
Right,
much, you
right.
know. Same with tarot decks. So tarot decks, there's of course the original deck, and there's also different other tarot decks that different illustrators and artists have worked
Yeah.
on.
Hmm.
All of them have different pictures and different messages. And when you use your intuition and you see those decks, it kind of gives you different like messages, you
Yeah.
know. So it's important to have a variety of different ones depending on like what kind of question you have.
Yeah, and for sure with any type of divination reading or any type of tool that you're using, make sure to, do protection and say thanks to your spirit guides. These are messages coming through from your spirit guides, and it does take a lot of energy from you as a vessel as well. So make sure you know that you're giving your thanks and you are appreciative of the messages. Any message that comes through, even if it's not what you want to hear, eventually it'll make sense later. So that's
Hmm.
something that I feel like we've had to learn on our journeys as well, because sometimes, we might get a message where we're like, oh, like I didn't want to hear that, or I didn't,
Hmm. Or like it doesn't make sense
yeah.
until like later on you come back and that's why it's important to journal. Okay, one thing, journal your readings because you'll go back and see like, oh, like that makes a lot of sense now because at that time, like I didn't realize I was going through these things until I connected the dots together.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was our tarot and oracle
Hmm.
um
little
talk.
tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to mention one more thing again. It is really important to set your space, your intentions, and protection because when you're communicating with the spirit realm, of course, you want to make sure you are only communicating with your spirit guides that are there to give you the best guidance possible for your own highest alignment instead of course, like communicating with other things out there.
Yeah.
That's why there is a lot of controversy when using divination tools, but that's because a lot of people don't use it with the correct intentions.
Yeah, and actually, one more thing to add too is like a lot of times you are opening a portal. Okay, so every single time you do that, you are asking for the guidance through spirit guides. Like Linda said, have intention, but at the end of each reading, always close that portal. Do a second prayer at the end and make sure that you are closing that door so that nothing follows and that you are, safe and that you're good to go so that you can just be done with the reading because there is a lot of energy that comes through when you do open up that portal. So, yeah.
Especially when you're reading for people. It's important to be protected because when you're reading for like even just friends or family members, you might be receiving some of their energetic energies and you don't know
Yes,
what they may have or don't have.
it is an energy exchange. So, yes, be cautious. All right, let's get into our next divination tool, which is pendulums. So, I don't know if you guys have used pendulums, but this is something that me and Linda have used in the past as well. It's very individual, intricate to like who you are. And like I said, this is a tool where I say they really have to choose you because they are ultimately like a yes and no type of, energy. Or, sometimes you can have like a maybe in there as well. Um, so back, what was it, like a year ago?
Yeah, about.
Yeah, about a year ago, I went to like this little shop thing and they had a bunch of different types of pendulums. We can put that down in the description as well. And it was just so beautiful, like creative art. Like they created each piece like they were handmade. And I went there and I did not find one that I liked. I was like, okay, like there were some that were nice, but I felt like it didn't resonate with my energy. And the thing about pendulums is like you would hold them. We can put a picture of ours as well.
Yeah.
You would hold them and you can ask like show me my yes, show me my no, and it'll go in a certain direction based on who you are, okay? It's based on the individual. And you would ask it like, are you my pendulum? They could say yes or they could say no. And every single time I was there, it just said no. And I was like, I already knew that because I wasn't
Yeah.
resonating with it anyways. Not because, it wasn't a beautiful thing, but it was just because like it's an energy type of feeling, you know what I mean? Like you have to know. And so it's really funny because they have a website as well. So one day I was just scrolling on the website and I was like, I really want one because like I really like playing with this tool. I don't mean to say playing, but you know what I mean? Like I like using this tool for guidance. And when I was looking on the website, I was like, oh my gosh, this brand new one, literally, it was not at the shop and I did not see it like on the website at first. And like a few days later, I went back on and I saw it and it was like brand new. It was like a new one they just posted up and it was so beautiful. It was like green and like white. And I knew for sure one thing that I wanted in my pendulum was clear quartz crystal at the end because I don't know. I think there was something about like clarity that I wanted for that. And when I found it, it was called Grounding Glow. And it was a very grounding type of crystal. So I ended up buying it. And then I told my in-law about this, and she was like, oh my God, like this one, it really fits you well. Like she's like, I already know that that one is yours because like she's a shaman, so she has spirit guides, and she's like, oh, my spirit guides told me that you really really need grounding, like you're somebody like because she was like, she went with me to the to the place, so she was like, yeah, like all of those ones that were like water connected, like angelic, or what is it, like mermaid, they had so many different types of themes. She was like, you would think that those ones are for you, but she was like, they said that you don't need that, like
You
you
have enough of that.
yeah, like she's like, you already have that, so they need you to get something more like that's going to be useful for you, which is those grounding energies. So she was like, yeah, like the green, the grounding, like it's literally called grounding glow, right? So that's the intention. And they have like angel numbers behind it too. So this one was 1111, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got it, and right away I asked my yes and no, and I asked, are you my pendulum? It said yes, and it was amazing. So then I was like, okay, Linda's birthday was coming up, so this was
Mm-hmm.
about literally almost a year ago,
Yeah.
and pretty much in October, because your birthday's in November. So I was like, yeah, like I want to get one for Linda too for her birthday. So I looked on the website, and surprisingly, they had one that was like Scorpio themed. They didn't
Yeah.
even have any other like zodiac.
Uh-huh.
They only had like a Scorpio one. So I was like, interesting. Okay, let me look at it. And I was kind of like, so it's okay. Like it didn't really call out to me that hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, it is a Scorpio and she's a Scorpio, like maybe. But so I did this thing again where I was like going back and forth, like trying to choose. And like I would wait a few days, like see if they dropped any, like go back just to see if like anyone calls out again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back there again, like 3 days, like on the website. And I was scrolling through and I'm like, oh my God, this one. Like there was one that was like, it was so crazy. Like it was protection, like black
Shield of
shield, like yeah,
protection.
shield of protection
Uh,
was what it was called. And when I clicked on it, the angel number was also 1111, and
mm-hmm.
that just felt way more like powerful. It felt right. It felt like this was the one, like
Mm-hmm.
not the Scorpio one, like this is the one for Linda. And I was like, because earlier we were saying like your tools, they choose you too, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you like gift one to someone, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think especially with pendulums, it's very like important to know, like if this one's going to be for someone, especially if you're buying it for someone. It's so hard
Yeah.
because you don't know if like they might get it and the pendulum's like, no, I'm not
Yeah.
yours.
Or like it doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so but the thing is that right away I already knew. It was like a intuition thing where I was like, I don't have to ask, like I already know right away. And the thing is like when I got them, so I got mine and I got Linda's,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at Linda's, like I opened it a little and I looked at it and I said to it, I was like, you are Linda's pendulum. And I just like put it back and I just like,
I just got goosebumps.
yeah. Well, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I saw it, I literally like yours made me have like the chills. Like I was like, oh my God. And mine was actually like a white clear crystal at the bottom, and hers was a black one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so interesting, right?
Yeah.
With the whole like our energies, how it works, but at the same time, like I feel like you also resonate a lot with the word like shield too.
Yes, and we talked about that
Yeah.
too during that time.
Yes, and it's just so interesting that that was just what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I gave it to you,
Yeah, we tested it out together. I was so excited. I'm like, okay, should we go test it? And so we went to my room, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of nervous. Hopefully it is. And so I was like, okay, you my pendulum. And it said yes. So I was like, oh my God, thank goodness. Like it is. Like I fucking knew it. Thank you so much.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, and it was just such a beautiful moment. I feel like I love that too because there was a part of me that was like slightly nervous, but I was not really nervous because I was like, of course this is yours,
Yeah.
like this is my gift to you, and at the
What would
same
you have
time,
done if it was?
I
You have
would
returned it?
maybe, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
just like that didn't even cross my mind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
Uh-huh.
I was like, there's no way it's gonna say no to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Uh-huh.
that's just wrong.
I know. Yeah, so pendulums are amazing ever since I do use it a lot too, especially when I do my card readings, especially
Mhm.
if I need to like clarify like okay, is it this or is it this?
Yeah.
And it'll tell me like yes or no. Um I want to go into how we use our pendulums too because me and Paris actually use it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So for me, you kind of have to, they say, calibrate your pendulum
Yep.
in a way that works with you. So, in a way, you're also using your energy and your intuition to read the pendulum and, use the pendulum. So, for me, yes is going like up and down, and no is actually like side to side. Whereas, like Paris, I think
Yeah.
yours was,
So mine, it goes in a circle if it's yes, and if it's no, it doesn't matter which way, it'll go like either way in a line.
mhm.
So I guess it's interesting because for you, I remember sitting there watching and I was like, what is that? Because like it was actually her yeses, it comes to
Yeah,
her.
like it's coming towards me.
Yeah, but your no, it's like the other way. So I was like, I've never seen that before. Yeah, so for me, it's the circle, it's the yes, and then it doesn't really matter which direction as long as it's going in a straight line, that's usually no. And another thing is, I think we both bought this tool. It's like a little board that has like yes, no, maybe. It kind of like gives you like a direction. The pendulum will go in the direction of the word pretty much. So you'll ask the question and you can put it, the board at the bottom and it'll go in the direction of yes, or no. And it just kind of depends. At the same time, like if you don't have one of those two, like it'll just, go in the direction your yes or no, the way
Yeah.
that you do it. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting.
It is interesting. But yeah, that's a little bit about pendulums. Really fun and exciting. But next tool that you can use are crystals. So crystals, we do know, of course, they're good for energy healing, um, especially healing your chakras, but you can also use it as a form of divination. I'm sure like people have heard in the past, like crystal balls. Some people use it as a way to get guidance, messages, or images by staring into like the crystal balls, like a clear quartz ball.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are very interesting, those crystal balls, but we also have like crystal wands too. Like people either make wands or they are just shaped into wands. A lot of people will use this tool, in Reiki healing. They do crystal healing as well, or crystal Reiki, where they pretty much align each crystal with each chakra. They'll go through each of the chakras with the wand, like kind of balance each chakra out. And then another thing I wanted to actually talk about, which is not a crystal, but jewelry. So, like with my Merkaba necklace here, it's a star necklace, so it's star shaped. And it's very interesting because I was told by a shaman actually that she told me, she was like, yeah, well, because it was kind of a time where I was losing a lot of my jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, like, why do I keep losing it? It wasn't really anything that deep, but the thing was just like, she was saying, like, okay, your spirit guides are saying like you need to buy a star necklace. And the thing about like, even if it's not like crystal, right, but it's still jewelry and it still has some sort of meaning or symbol to it. This star necklace apparently is supposed to help me connect much deeper, and to be in communication with my spirit guides. So it's actually, I would say it's been helping a lot. I actually just recently got this, so it's really good just to have like some sort of jewelry, right, that you connect with. Or I also have an angel wing bracelet actually too, so that it's just like certain things where like you buy it based on their symbol or based on their meaning, like wherever you buy it from, they have like
Mm-hmm.
different meanings that they put out there. But it's amazing because they have those intentional type of like meanings towards them. So I think for me, whenever I buy jewelry, whether it's a crystal, right, that has a certain property, or it's a piece of jewelry that has a certain symbol, it's very important for me to set an intention to it, so I know that, okay, my angel bracelet or my angel necklace is going to help me, help protect me, when I'm out at night, or wherever I am from, big parties or just being in a big room of energy, stuff like that. Or my star necklace or Makaba, right, is going to help me with the connection or communication with my spirit guides. So it's just good to set those types of intentions, right? Or like if you have like a citrine bracelet, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you want to attract abundance or manifestation, different things like that. So you have to set an intention so the crystal or the jewelry knows what it's going to help you with, so that it can be useful.
Exactly. If you don't set those intentions, of course, it'll just be like any other materialistic thing there.
Right,
And that
exactly.
goes with crystals, like you said, too.
Hmm.
Always set intentions for every like healing divination item that you have.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go into candles. So, candles can also be used as a form of divination. Some people use it to, um, like stare into like the candle flames to read messages. Some people have the ability to hear messages from like the spirit side, receiving images, or even like seeing stuff within the flame itself,
Hmm.
to read. A little bit of candles. I've used it a little bit too when I do like my readings or like meditation. It's good to just light a candle for like a stronger connection too. You can kind of read the flame sometimes. If it's a strong, steady flame, that means you have a very strong connection with your spirit guides or like that spiritual connection. Sometimes you may see like candles kind of like flickering or like moving side to side, and those are all different sort of like messages that the spirit side is trying to show you as well. Some people say that when it's like flickering a little bit and then it stops and it flickers a little bit like that, it's your spirit guides trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
Some people also say that when you light a candle and it starts to like smoke, like black smoke, that means there's a lot of like negative or lower vibrational energies within your space and you're gonna need to cleanse a little bit.
Same thing goes if like your candle wick is like melting like really bad or like just really, a lot.
I have heard, so shamans, monk shamans, when they do their rituals or like ceremonies, they always light a candle. And during the ritual, after they're done, they do look at the candle to see like what it looks like. And like Paris said, when a candle is literally melting, it looks like those haunted house candles. It means there's a lot of like trauma, a lot of things to fix, a lot of like negative things that are occurring within the ritual.
Yeah,
So
for
those are
sure.
things to kind of keep in mind for candles.
Yeah, I actually like had a little dream where like there was a ritual going on with all these candles. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. And with each candle that was being lit, it was like answering a certain question or things like that. And anyways, I asked for like a dream interpretation. And what the person told me was that she was like, "Oh, your spirit guides are showing you a new method of reading or divination tool. Like you can, just like this episode."
Hmm.
Um, and she was like, "Yeah, they said that you can do candle readings," which is really funny because I was like, "No way," because I'm super afraid of fire. Like, and I've never lit candles like growing up, like really, like ever, and just kind of like a safety thing, I guess. But I've never lit candles. I don't really like look at candles that often too. I actually just recently got into candles and I would see, I think I remember telling you, I was like, oh my God, like one day my candle was like flickering like nonstop and it was not stopping. And I was like waiting for it to stop and it just never stopped.
Hmm.
So I didn't know what to do. So then I blew it out.
Oh my God.
And the funny thing was that like, and then that's when, I had that dream, and that's when I was kind of like, oh, maybe it's some, maybe they're trying to tell me something. But
Hmm.
it is that, yes, they do want me to know that, okay, you can do candle readings and like you can try to get into it. But like I said, I think it's just, it takes a lot of practice and a lot
Yeah.
of things. So I think that's something I'm starting to like to learn more about. But we'll see when the experience comes.
Some people actually use candles as a form of like manifestation too. So
Yes.
like lighting a candle and then setting intentions or like even writing your manifestation on a piece of paper and putting
Yeah.
it under the candle. And then they'll light this candle for a period of time depending on like what you're trying to manifest or however long your ritual is. And they say it's important not to blow out your candles because you're blowing away your manifestations and your
Yes.
blessings. So some people actually buy like these candle stoppers, or it's like a little bell and just kind of like take out the candle flame.
Hmm.
That's really good for making sure you don't blow away your blessings that you worked really hard on to
Yes.
manifest.
And with manifestation too, it's like comes with the different colored candles too. And it's just really important to know what each color means so that you know what exactly you want to manifest as well.
Hmm.
But they say the same thing for incense too. So if you're burning the incense, don't blow it, just like
Shake it
shake
off.
it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Going into the last but not least, one that we have on our list is um, matches or like flame readings with like matchsticks. So these flame readings can be utilized to interpret different energetic connections between you and a person, to see whether you guys are a soul contract connection, a karmic, a soulmate, or even a twin flame. And it could kind of give you some insight regarding what is going on within the connection between you two as well.
Yeah, so I love flame readings. I think they're so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because with these types of matches, you need to have the super long stick matches.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in, like a bowl or like a cup of rice, something that can hold it pretty much. And well, before you burn it, you would have to do like another protection prayer again, slightly, and then ask your spirit guides to show you the connection between you and this person, whoever you are asking for. Um, I will say a lot of times, you should ask only for yourself and for other people, like you and whoever you want to ask about.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like trying to look into other people's energetic connection, you don't have necessarily permission to do that. So you could do it, but I will tell you, like, you will not get an accurate answer.
Yeah, and also I highly advise you not to look into other people's
Yes,
energy without their permission because you can get punished.
for sure.
And there are always spirits, and the universe is watching you. So act with integrity.
For sure. So, the thing about this type of reading is, like Linda said, it's all about the connection between you and another person, right? So, once you ask you say your thank yous and you ask for your protection, everything you ask, like, show me the true connection between me and this person. It will flame. Also, you would have to choose like which side are you, right or left, right? It kind of depends. It doesn't really matter. Use your intuition. I would say like I was telling Linda, like maybe you'll see like a more masculine stick and a more feminine stick, and like you just go based on the energy, like which stick looks like who. Like you start to see the sticks as like almost like real like figures,
Mm-hmm.
because they look like they have, the matches have like those heads, and it's very interesting the way it burns. It literally looks like a real story. So once they burn it, you will start to see like the matches will burn in a certain way. It kind of depends on that connection, right? In the current moment. But I have had experiences before where like I've done it and like they have shown me like a current connection, but they've also shown me like a story connection like from the last few months. Or it kind of, I think it also depends like how much have you been talking to this person or
Yeah,
been in this person's life,
like physical connection
Yeah.
too. Mm-hmm.
For sure. So, of course, like Linda said, we have the soul contracts and the karmics, right? So, a lot of like karmic relationships, you'll see like both of the flames will like go separate ways, or they'll like fall, like one will come this way and one will go the other, and it'll just be super draining. You can see it drains because it will not come together, it will go apart
Like they're
most of the
trying to
time.
distance themselves from
Yes.
one another too.
Or one is like draining the other person, and then like literally I've seen flames where like their heads literally fall off because of how drained and how much of a
Mm-hmm.
karmic relationship that it is, that's
Mm-hmm.
how much it hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how people will find out, like people have asked like, how do you find out that's your twin flame or your soulmate or your
Yep.
karmic? This is how you find out most of the time, is through these flame readings, but also of course like to go more in depth with the tarot cards as well.
Mm-hmm.
But with these types of energies, and same with like if you are, let's say you are karmic, but your flame looks like a soulmate, right? Like I said, it's just the energy. So a lot of times you can kind of figure it out, but with the cards, but at the same time, you can evolve into like soulmates as well. So in a sense, like with the karmic and the contract, you will have more of like the distance. It will be very draining, very negative type of energies going on. And then with the soulmates, a lot of times what I notice with soulmates is that the heads will always be together. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you fall this way, whatever.
Like it's a very harmonious connection
Yeah.
between the two. Like they're not draining each other out and they're not distancing themselves.
Yeah, and you can kind of see like as long as your heads are together, it kind of just means like through every battle, this person will always be there
Mm-hmm.
for you. You'll always be there for them. Like you can see sometimes the fire will only be on one person, but it'll go into the other person's flame to light them up again,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of shows like, okay, like, even if I'm done, like I'm not,
Yeah. Or like you're at your lowest
yeah.
point, your soulmate is there to kind of pick you back up and relight and ignite your fire and flame
Yeah,
again.
they lift you up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of how it's a soulmate connection in a sense. So, a lot of times too, I do want to point out just a little tiny detail, which is like some people will actually have a tiny little flame that comes out in their corner, and you'll see this a
It's like a
lot.
third flame. You're
Yeah,
like, what is that? Like, how does a
yeah,
matchstick with only two create a third flame?
yeah,
That's an external party in your relationship.
yeah,
And usually that's a sign that maybe there's someone on the side on whoever matches, stick that it is on. So,
And it can also depend. A lot of times it will be like, okay, maybe there's, another guy or another girl, somebody who's attracted to them. Doesn't mean that they like them, but, maybe they might
trying
like
to get into the
them.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like certain different types of things that, go on in that type of relationship. But sometimes the external factor could also be, it doesn't have to be like a man or woman who likes you. It could be like a different party, as in like maybe it's a family member or a friend who might be draining you guys, interfering. There's
Yes,
like
it's the third
interference.
party.
Yep, that is hurting your relationship. So it's not always like, oh, this person's cheating on me. You know what I mean? But it kind of depends. There's a story. Every single flame is going to be different. And then lastly, the twin flame, right? So the twin flame connection and what that flame looks like. So we did talk about twin flames before, but with twin flames, it's very crucial to understand that these people, when you have somebody who shares the same soul as you, you will have a very large flame.
Very strong, powerful flame. And that's because you two are twin flames. And when you combine the two, it creates a big flame, a very strong connection. That's what a twin flame connection is. It's very strong
Yeah.
because it's on a deep soul level.
But the thing about the twin flame too is that it can go either way. It could be like soulmates or it could be like super karmic-y. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, your flame is strong, right? But twin flames, they have such a karmic relationship, but also such a loving soulmate relationship too, where they can just go in so many different directions. But I say, honestly, like it could go for same thing with karmic and soulmates too, right? Like you could be both as well. But the thing about the twin flame, like how you can differentiate it is if their flame burns long and it burns strong.
And a lot of times, twin flame matches,
Yes.
they burn for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they even burn all the way down to the bottom. And you don't see that type of flame connection a lot with a karmic or like a soul contract. They burn for a very short, maybe just like a third of the stick.
And I do want to mention too, like a lot of times based on your burn, it will like if let's say like somebody burns very short for you, but you burn super long for them. Whoever burns longer, I will say you do love that person much more. You love them longer, you love them deeper. This person, they do love you too, but it's just a shorter amount, that, is not as equal as you.
Yeah.
But if you guys burn at the same time, just kind of means you have the same love for
Amount of
each
love.
other. Yeah. And I think even with karmic too, you could actually have a long burn. It just means more
It's a
draining.
very, draining, long, and toxic connection. Some flames that burn longer, it also signifies that you guys have a lot of soul lifetimes together.
Yeah.
So your souls have known each other for a very long time.
For sure. Yeah. So that's a little bit about our flames.
All right. We want to kind of talk a little bit about a recent experience that we had. We went to a cabin trip with a couple of our friends, and we did some oracle card readings for each other. So we had like a group A and a group B. We did like little like healing session circles where we kind of just gave our friends some guidance on just general like what they need in their lives. I think we did like an animal spirit guide, we did angel guide, and then we did a soul's journey guide. So
Yeah, those were super fun to do because it was a big group of us. And I think it's really important to like also heal with your friends too, right? So,
I do know that healing is more powerful when you do it as a collective
yeah,
because you hold so much more healing energies.
for sure. And I think a lot of times, like you go out with your friends or family, right? And you don't know what these people are actually going through.
Exactly.
I mean, even when we were doing these readings, like we didn't know like
Yeah.
every single person's story. It was like one of those trips where it's like we don't get to hang out often, right? So when we do, we all come together and like we start to catch up a little more, but not in depth like that, right? So I think with this group, it was very special for us because it's a lot of our close friends and family. And one thing I did want to mention, because using this divination tool, it was for me, like every time I was shuffling the cards for someone, there was always like some sort of background behind it. Like I was like, oh my God, there's like a certain way that it came out, or like it really wanted to come out, so it came out like 3 times, but I didn't
Yeah.
trust it. So then like now it definitely came out. That means it's definitely for you, like, and every single person, luckily, like they were like, oh my God, this resonates. And we had some tears and we had some like just a lot of bonding moments, and it was so beautiful. And for me, for like these groups, I had two of my family members actually in the circle. And it was really interesting because every single person, you're talking to them, you're explaining something to them about their story. But these two specific individuals who are related to me actually. And, we are, of course, like we're family close, but like not like super, super close. But it came to a point where I was like, I have
She
to
started.
stand up and tell you this message right now because I feel like my blood boiling, I feel my heart beating so fast, like everything was coming to me where I was like, oh gosh, like I feel like I need to tell you this right now because they want me to tell you this. And you can definitely feel, well, I could feel like the energy shift in my body where I'm like, okay, Paris, me, would I say this to them normally? Maybe not, right? But I could tell that whatever it was that was coming through, which was their spirit guides coming to my spirit guides and using me as a vessel to speak to them, was very intense because a lot of when you're interacting honestly with other people, you're also interacting with their spirit guides as well. So if like I told Lynn, I was like, imagine being a spirit guide, right? And you have a human and your human never
Doesn't listen.
listens.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, do this, do that, right? Like take care of yourself, but they don't do that, right? So they use other people as a vessel to come through. And that's kind of how I was feeling, which was funny because I didn't realize that it was only towards my two family members where they really used me and like had asked me like, can you please tell this person to like listen to us, tell this person to do this differently, to like pay attention to this, to do that, right? And there was like certain messages that I needed to get through because and I could feel like my irritation, my anger, right? But I was like, oh sorry, like, at the same time it's not really me, but it's actually your spirit guide speaking through me, so they want you to have this message.
And a
So,
lot of times when you have like a stronger emotional and spiritual connection with the people you're close with, they will do that, you know.
yeah.
And I was telling Paris, I'm like, oh, it's probably because like, you guys are family. You guys are soul family. And, when you have soulmates in your life that are not actually going down the right path, your guides will come and speak through that clear audience, getting messages from the spiritual side and communicating that with others. And a lot of times when you have this clear audience, it's like, oh, the guidance I gave you, it's not for me. So I'm not going to remember what I said. I really don't remember it, but
Yeah.
you will because it'll resonate and it'll, connect with what you're going through at that time too. One thing is like, when we do our oracle readings and card readings, especially for me, I do feel like the energy while shuffling. So when you do your readings, you want to make sure you're like stabilizing an energetic connection with the person you're reading, and you will feel the energy that they have going on or like what they're kind of going through in life, even though you don't know like logically, physically. Like shuffling the cards, like sometimes, like let's say, like a bunch of cards just come out. That probably means that they're going through like a lot of different things in their life, or their energy is just not like stable. There's like a lot of chaotic energies. So you'll keep shuffling, and maybe like Paris said, you'll have like a card that comes out, but it's like maybe it comes out, but it comes out with like a multiple other cards too.
Yeah.
We usually just like to take one card at a time, which just makes things a little bit easier and more accurate. And then it comes out again. That's how you kind of confirm, like, okay, like this is the card for you because it came out multiple times, not just once. And a deck full of like 70 cards, like how does it come out more than like twice, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. And that's how we know like it's meant for you.
Yeah.
When we do readings too, for me specifically, sometimes I'll receive like some sort of like insight or like an image that just pops up regarding like what area in your life maybe you might need more guidance with. And so for some people, I did feel like, oh, like, I feel like I'm not sure exactly what you're going through in this part of your life, but I'm getting some messages that are pertaining to that. Maybe you're going through something in your family life that's causing you to feel these ways. But I just want to let you know, and here's some guidance to kind of help you with that too.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you mix two people, right, to be like readers and things like that. And the type of messages that we were getting, and the funny thing is, like, we have different types of abilities too. So for me, it was like I could hear like the word like that they want me to say. Like I'm like, okay, well this person came through or this thing came through, and it's like you said, like we don't know what you're going through. Like we don't know what it is that's been happening the last few months or however long, but at the same time, it's like I just want to let you know that that's just what came through my ear in a sense, and I want to say it out loud because I'm thinking that maybe this is going to help you or it's going to affect you in some way. So,
Yeah.
I mean, overall, it was such a beautiful like session, both sessions. And I'm just glad that we got to do it for, everybody who wanted to do it. I think it's not something that is required, but of course, it's something that if you're comfortable doing it and you want to do it, you want to receive messages. Of course, like it's completely open, but I will say too, like if you're somebody, like you might not even be open to receiving the message or you don't want it, right? Same goes for every single divination tool or any type of spiritual type of healing, right? Like Reiki healing, right? Like if you don't want it, then it's not going to work.
Yeah,
Same
or
thing,
like the messages won't be accurate, or
right?
like the cards are not going to come out for you.
Exactly. Like same thing with the flame reading, right? Like you're asking for something, but like if you don't really feel confident, you really don't know if you want to do it, or you're very unsure, like it's not going to be accurate. It's not going to be like, it's not going to work for you. Because the thing is that you just don't, a lot of times people don't have the belief or the faith or the understanding or the trust or the confidence. So from there, like you really have to build those things too in order to dive deeper into this stuff.
And a lot of times when people shield themselves off to that, like you're basically creating a shield where we can't create an energetic connection to you to even read you because you're not
Yeah.
opening yourself. It's almost like you're opening a portal to being read in a way too.
Exactly.
But it is really important to, whenever you get readings from anyone or you do it for yourself, like we said, be protected because you don't know, like, if there might be other things around or, just negative or lower vibrational energies. So be cautious and, just be safe.
Yeah. Burn incense, light a candle, sage yourself. Do what you need to do. Say a prayer every single time. Do protection prayers for any type of divination reading or any type of healing that you do. But yeah, just be safe, be cautious, wear your crystals, be intentional. But yeah, thanks for listening to our divination tools episode. It was a super long episode, but totally worth it. And it's very important information. So if you are on your spiritual journey, shaman journey, any type of journey that you're going through right now, and you want to know how to use certain tools, there you go. If you have any questions, just send us a message, leave us a comment, anything like that. We're completely open to answering anything.
Yeah, and as always, practice makes perfect. So, the more people you dive into to do divination readings on, it'll help you gain your abilities more as well as strengthening your intuition because a lot of times it is just intuitive readings. Paris and I, we do sometimes offer free intuitive readings on our social media pages. So make sure to follow us if you're ever interested or you need some guidance in life. Feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to offer you some guidance from our spirit guides. And yeah, so thank you so much for paying attention to this episode. It was really fun and interesting diving into the different tools. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media pages. Bye.
Bye.